Hello, I'm Zoe, and I'm 37 years old. I recently divorced my husband of 10 years. I know that's a long time to be married, so the reason for divorce must have been something groundbreaking, and it was. Let me start off by introducing you to my husband, Carl. Carl and I met at a concert. We were drunk and vibing with the music. We ended up talking a lot that night and also exchanged contacts by the end of it. After that, we met each other some more and dated for around 2 years before deciding to get married. Our marriage was going really well. We had a lot of ups and downs, but we always managed to get through it. Thankfully, we were able to buy a house after 2 years of being married, but since Carl had a terrible credit score, the mortgage and the deed were made in my name. Now, Carl and I had similar amounts of income. The only difference was that Carl loved to spend his money. He even spent money that wasn't his own. I had to keep an eye on his expenditure for a whole year to get his credit to a decent place. Other than that, everything in our relationship was fine. The first time I got a notification that I had another credit card open in my name, I was shocked. As far as I knew, I hadn't done anything of that sort. At that time, however, I just assumed that it was one of those scam messages that aimed to steal from you, so I let it go. I didn't think much of it. In fact, I completely forgot about it. But there was this feeling in my gut that I couldn't get rid of. It kept telling me that something was not right. I ignored it the first time it happened, but another 2 months later I got the same message. This time I felt like I should probably look into it, so I did. I looked at my credit score and saw that it had decreased. If there was one thing that I was very careful with, it was my credit score. We live in a world where not only do you get a lot of benefits based on your credit, but you are also sometimes only allowed certain things based on it. My family was very big on being financially educated, to the point where my parents even made me and all my siblings take finance courses during and after high school. They didn't care about whatever we chose to pursue in life because we had a good understanding of how the economy worked. Whatever we pursued would not matter, considering we always know our way around and through the many systems. Because of the way my parents brought me up, I knew how to be careful with my credit. So to see it tank so low made me almost pass out. I knew for a fact that I hadn't been using my credit card that much, and even when I did, I made sure to pay it back within 3 to 4 days at most. I started panicking and trying to remember if I put my card details into some sketchy website or just in general handed it out to someone, but I drew a blank. Then a sudden thought struck me. Carl had been buying a lot of fancy things recently, and as far as I knew, there was no increase in his pay and he didn't receive any extra incentives. So where had he been getting the money from? I felt at that moment that Carl had a hand in everything that was going on. Carl and I made the decision to never interfere in each other's finances or financial decisions. The only time that we did divulge our finances with each other was if we got any bonus or overtime at the time of us getting paid. We did that because we still had expenses to pay for, and a certain portion of the extra money should go towards that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Carl never even told me about any such money. So I decided to ask him myself in a subtle manner about it. "That's a nice watch you got there." "Oh, yeah." "So where did you get it from?" "Just an impulse purchase." "That looks like a really expensive watch. You have that much money to spend impulsively?" "Apparently, yeah." "Did you purchase it through your credit card?" "Are you really trying to monitor and control my spending? I thought we agreed not to do anything like that." "I'm not doing anything like that. You just know how I feel about spending money that you don't have. I don't want us to struggle." "I know what I'm doing. Just let me enjoy my life." "Are you trying to say that I'm not letting you do that?" "Well, yeah. You're constantly looking over my finances, and the one time I made one purchase without letting you know. It's a big deal. That's not true. I don't care how you spend your money. I only care about how your spending is going to affect us. If you spend money that can contribute towards us paying off our loans faster, that's not good. I'm not stupid enough to actually do that. Just because you did some courses in finance doesn't give you the right to control everything. It is because of my knowledge of finances that we have been living as comfortably as we can with average salaried jobs. Can we just drop it? I don't have the energy to deal with you being judgy. I couldn't understand why Carl was being so defensive. All that did was confirm my suspicions about him being the reason my credit dropped so low. Carl was pretty rude to me after that. He barely spoke to me. I tried to talk to him again multiple times, but he refused to talk to me. He called me mean and controlling many times after, and even got his mother involved in everything. She then began to blow up my phone with messages calling me a horrible person for financially abusing her son. Which, keep in mind, I have never in my life done. I just knew that when Carl and I got married, he had a horrible credit score. We had to work our way out of that low score, and that took quite a while. I had seen what impulse spending did to him. Carl was someone who bought anything that caught their eye. To him, a credit card was a source of infinite money. I tried over and over again to teach him how it worked, and while I knew he wasn't understanding much of it, I did not expect him to think of me as a villain because of it. I had seen firsthand what bad financing does to a marriage. I watched many of my friends and family members' marriages fall apart because they never planned how the money would be spent. I only wanted to avoid that. Sure, I may have been overly cautious, but given Carl's past, I couldn't help but feel like I wasn't in the wrong for that. As the days passed by, it got suffocating to be at home. So I went over to my best friend's place for a little while. I informed Carl about it, but he barely batted me an eye. I also wanted to point out that over 2 weeks had passed since our argument, and Carl only got more fancier things. He purposely placed them in places I would see to rile me up. While that didn't rile me up, seeing my credit score dip like crazy made me angry. Anyways, I drove over to my best friend Kimmy's house. It had been a while since I went over, and she welcomed me warmly. We went out to lunch, and over lunch we discussed what was going on with our lives. It was then that I opened up to her. "So, how are you and Carl?" "Not so good, actually." "What? Why?" "Well, he's been very aggressive with me, not physically, but he thinks I'm financially abusing him." "Huh? What do you mean? Give me some context." "Essentially, I've been noticing that Carl has been spending a lot of money on expensive things like watches, a whole new gaming set, and other gadgets. Is it his own money that he's using to buy the things?" "That's the thing. I don't think it is." "So someone is lending him the money?" "I have no idea, but all I know is that my credit score has dipped like crazy, and I know that there have been multiple credit cards taken out in my name." "What? Are you saying?" "I see no other way for that to happen. I don't want to be suspicious of Carl, but he got way too defensive when I casually approached him about his big purchases. I didn't even ask him about the credit cards, just about the new purchases." "I'm pretty sure he's the one doing it. You need to collect evidence about it." "I know, but it feels wrong to invade his privacy, you know." "Who cares? He didn't care about that when he trashed your credit." "Fair. We'll go over to your place tomorrow when Carl's at work and look around for some evidence." "Yeah, okay." "Look, Zoe, fraud is fraud. I know you feel terrible about possibly having to charge your husband with it, but you need to. You can't let someone who's supposed to be your most trusted person betray you this way." "You're right. I need to think about myself this one time." "That's my girl." Kimmy and I spent the rest of the day either binge watching our favorite shows or making plans for the next day. We both took the day off from work. I will admit that I felt really nervous about the plan, but I knew that I needed to do it for my benefit. I loved Carl with every fiber of my being, but if he really was the one that was harming me, I would make his life hell. The next day, Kimmy and I woke up early in the morning and waited until we were sure that Carl had left for work before we started our drive back to my place. I lived about an hour away from her, so when we got to my place, there was no doubt that Carl was at work. We walked into my house and immediately dashed to the bedroom. We went through Carl's nightstand and his cupboard to see if we could find anything. We didn't find anything, and a part of me was relieved. I still wanted to believe that Carl wasn't involved in everything. Then we went to his office. I looked through his table while Kimmy went through his computer. Thankfully, I knew all his passwords, and even though he changed his computer's password, I was able to guess it. Carl's search history had been completely erased. There was not a single thing there. The table drawers had nothing but a bunch of unrelated documents. But the bottom drawer felt different from the other ones. It felt hollower. Could there have been a false bottom there? Kimmy and I prodded the drawer for a little while before we managed to open the false bottom. And what would you know? There were 2 credit cards in my name in the drawer. I took pictures of it. I felt anger rising in my veins. I was seeing red. How dare Carl treat me like some villain when he was the one who was doing such horrible things to me? I was going to teach him a good lesson. I just needed to figure out how to do it in the fastest way possible. Kimmy and I put everything back the way it was before we left. Kimmy was just as angry as I was. We silently made the drive back to her place, but she kept checking in on me to make sure I was okay. I will admit that I was so angry that at some point I started crying. I was so hurt and betrayed. What had I done to Carl that made him do something like this to me? When I got to Kimmy's, I decided to FaceTime with my parents. They were my go-to people whenever I needed help with anything. I was sure they'd know what to do. They had a lot of friends and connections that could help me out if they couldn't. Hey, sweetie, how are you? It's been a while. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'm doing okay, I guess. You guess? Why? I'm kind of going through something right now. Oh, no. Where's Carl? That's the thing. He's the reason I'm struggling right now. Struggling? What do you mean? What did he do? Do you need us to come down there and teach him a lesson? No, I want to do that instead, but I do need your help figuring things out. All right, tell us what's wrong, sweetie. So I just found out that Carl has been opening up multiple credit cards in my name and has maxed them all out. What? Yeah, I wasn't sure it was him until today. Kimmy accompanied me back home because Carl and I had an argument, and I came to stay with her. We went back and I found the credit cards in his office. That's identity theft, sweetie. You need to report it. I don't care that he's your husband. In fact, the law doesn't either. You have to file a report against him. I know. That's the plan. Everything just seems so overwhelming, though. You know what, honey? Don't you worry about a thing. Yeah, we have a friend who's a financial lawyer, and she will get everything done for you. That would mean the world to me. I'll have her contact you immediately, and she'll help you fix your credit score right away. Thanks a lot, you guys. Also, I do feel like it is important for me to ask you if you really want to continue to be in a relationship with someone like Carl. No, I don't. I'll start filing for a divorce immediately. That's my girl. Let us know if you need absolutely anything, okay? Yes, sweetie. We're only one phone call and one flight away from you. It felt great to have their support. A small part of me was terrified that they would think I was stupid and would maybe even berate me. But they approached my situation and my feelings with so much care and concern that I couldn't help but feel really relieved. True to his word, Dad had someone contact me regarding my issues. The lawyer helped me do all the necessary legal work to clear my name and penalize Carl for his crime. I submitted everything that was necessary to her, and she assured me that she would have everything cleared out in the span of a week to 10 days. I was hopeful for the first time in a while after that. Kimmy and I relaxed for a while after that. Carl never called or texted me to check in on me. While I knew I was supposed to be angry with him, I couldn't help but feel even more hurt by how he didn't care for me. That night, I fell asleep with one thought in my mind, and that was to file for a divorce the next day. The next day, my parents helped me get in touch with a good divorce lawyer as well. I was worried that Carl would try to contest the divorce, although it would be a stupid decision, granted his crime. I started the filing process for divorce, and my heart hurt. I couldn't believe that my marriage was ending this way. I went back home that day, even though Kimmy insisted that I stay. I guess I wanted to talk to Carl about what was going on. I didn't want to reveal that I knew about what he had done. I just wanted to hear his side of things once again. When I got back home, Carl was watching TV in the living room. He looked up at me and looked surprised to see me there. "Oh, wow, you're back early. Why?" "Did you not want me to come back?" "Well, obviously, I don't want you yelling at me for spending money, which, by the way, I've been eating out every day. If that makes you angry enough, you can leave again." "I literally just walked in. Can we not fight immediately?" "How can we not? Since you left, I have not heard one apology from you. Hell, I haven't heard an apology since we fought." "Why the hell do I have to apologize to you? You took things the wrong way. I was only asking how you were able to buy things." "Which is a direct attack on me. How are you not getting that?" "I can't help it if you're insecure about something. I've said it 1,000 times at this point, but I didn't mean anything by my questions. I was only concerned about our financial well-being. If you took it to heart and refused to listen to my explanation, that's your problem." "Well, fine, it's my problem. You can do no wrong after all." "I just wanted to talk things out properly, okay? That's why I even came back home. Can you just talk to me without villainizing me?" "How can I not villainize you when you keep throwing my bad spending habits in my face? Every day it feels like you're only monitoring me. Do you know how many things I've wanted to buy over the years but never did because of how scared I was?" "Carl, let me be clear. I never stopped you from spending or even splurging. My only criterion was that you make big purchases every once in a while, but if the purchases are small, you could make them as many times as you want. I was only stricter about it when we were trying to fix your credit." "That's not true. You've been doing it since the start." "Okay, well then, I'm sorry if I ever made you feel that way, but I can promise you that I never intended to do it." "Yeah, whatever." The way that Carl was trying his hardest to paint himself as a victim enraged me. I think after that conversation, my head cleared out a lot more. I guess I was just hoping that maybe Carl would confess to what he's done and we could still be together. But clearly that was not going to happen. I left him in the living room and stayed in the bedroom. I made sure to first change all my passwords because I didn't want Carl to find out in any way what I was going to do to him. Then it was just a matter of waiting. The next few days were spent either working or going over to Kimmy's, and then it finally arrived. By it, I mean mail. The mail was from my bank telling me that all my credit cards had been cancelled and that since it was my husband who stole the money and he had an account at the same bank, the money amount would be charged to his bank. I was really, really happy at that news. I also decided to go and get my divorce papers because there was no better opportunity to hit him worse than when he was already low. Carl came back home that evening frantically. He looked pale and he kept pacing back and forth in the living room. I had an inkling about why he was freaking out, but I wanted to find out how he'd break the news to me. "What's wrong? Why do you look so anxious?" "It's nothing. Why do you care right now?" It's clearly something. Just tell me what it is. Fine. I just got a call from the bank. And? And they told me that I owe them $40,000. $40,000? Why on earth would you need to pay them that much? I don't know. Don't you dare lie to me. Is this about the new things you've been buying? But your credit card maxes out at $20,000. Did you take out another credit card? Not really. What do you mean, not really? Tell me what it is. Okay, well, I was angry at you and with my life in general, so I did something stupid. I took out some credit cards in your name, but I still don't know why they charged me instead. That's because I reported you. You what? Why would you do that? First of all, what you did was a crime. It's called identity theft. Secondly, you're lucky that I'm only taking it this far and that the bank was lenient enough to transfer the credit into your name. You know, I can't afford to pay that off. I was only just starting to get stable. Well, you also know that it's wrong to steal, but you did it anyway. These are only the consequences of your actions. You are a horrible person. No, in every situation so far, it's you that's been horrible. In fact, you've been horrible enough for me to want to divorce you. Here, sign the papers. You're leaving me too? How cruel are you? What happened to till death us do part? That got nulled the second you stole from me and made me feel bad. I want you out of my house in a month. I walked out of the house with my head held high. After that, things progressed pretty quickly. Carl tried reaching out to me many times, but I ignored all his calls and texts. I stayed with Kimmy for the next month because I didn't want to be anywhere near Carl. Fortunately for him, he signed the divorce papers without a fuss and even moved out. Last I heard, he's been couch surfing at different people's houses because his credit was too bad to allow him to get a place to rent. He's couch surfing because he and his mother aren't on talking terms. You see, his mother had called me to yell at me for divorcing her son when he was at his lowest. I calmly told her why he was at his lowest, and it turned out that he never told her how he even got into so much debt. Needless to say, she was very angry with him and refused to talk to him. I feel a lot better now that Carl's negativity is out of my life. I mean, yes, I miss the good times we shared. But at the same time, the bad memories make everything seem not so good. I'm finally moving on to bigger and better things. Cheers!